This is the Canon EOS R5, and we all know it has a problem. This is the EOS R5 while recording 4K fine before it overheats. This is a USB mini fridge, and it is your solution for the EOS R5 overheating problem.
What up guys, welcome back to our episode. My name is Eddie Bear, and as I mentioned, we all know the Canon EOS R has an overheating problem. This issue has been addressed and somewhat improved upon in the 1.1 firmware that Canon released recently, but the R5 is still overheating. The cooling solution you see here is very similar to the one that Tilta announced back when the EOS R5 was released and rumors of an overheating issue surfaced. Since then, we are still waiting for Tilta's solution to be ready to order. Their concept sparked a massive discussion whether this sort of cooling could be sufficient to keep the R5 from overheating. So I figured, why not do a proof of concept and see if their solution actually could solve the EOS R5 overheating issue. First I thought, let's buy all the components and solder them together. But then I thought, well, electronics aren't your strong suit, and why not just buy something that already has all the necessary components and retrofit it? That's when I came up with a USB mini fridge that can be bought on Amazon for just 20 bucks. So today I'm showing you how you can retrofit this USB mini fridge to cool a Canon EOS R so it turns into an almost perfect camera. I don't want to spoil anything, but I can't wait to see if you'll be as impressed by the results as I was, so don't forget to comment. With that said, let's jump right in.
First things first, let's remove the whole cooling components from the fridge. For this you only need to remove the two screws that are holding everything in place. Now you can remove the cooling unit. You now either cut a hole into the mini fridge to free the USB cable, or you cut off the USB cable and resolder it later to the electronics. Now detach this little piece of plastic that sits on top of the cooling element, and we are done with the disassembly. So how does the magic work? The secret is the Peltier element, which sits between the heatsink and this piece of aluminum. If you apply a current, one side will get hot and the other one will get cold. The most important part of this contraption is the fan sitting on top of the heatsink. The faster you can remove the heat from the hot side of the Peltier element, the cooler the other side will be. Electroboom made a great video about Peltier elements, so I will link it here and you can learn for yourself more about these elements. To give you a better understanding how this whole thing works, this is a thermal image of the whole components we just removed, and now see what happens if I plug in the USB. You can see that the temperature of the aluminum plate is dropping over time, and we reach a delta of about 7 degrees Celsius, so we are lowering the temperature from 24 degrees room temperature all the way down to 17 degrees. To further increase cooling efficiency, let's put a thermal pad between our cooling system and the camera. Now apply the thermal pad to the back of the R5, but before that make sure to remove the protective foil so it properly can stick to the camera. Now stick our cooling system on top of it, and our DIY Canon R5 overheating protection is finished.
Now let's see how our DIY R5 cooling system impacts recording time, but first let's establish a baseline without cooling under 4K fine at 25 degrees room temperature.
If you ever did hold a Canon R5, you will know that the whole body will get warm to the touch if you record 4K footage. Thanks to the thermal imaging, we now also know that the whole body reaches a temperature around 42 degrees Celsius shortly before it overheats. Now let's redo the same exact test with the cooling system applied. Due to the recording limit of 30 minutes, I had to restart the recording every time the camera reached 30 minutes of recording, so I could simulate a continuous recording. I did this test for 2 hours, and then I decided to quit the test cause the camera wasn't overheating and the temperature stayed always the same. I even do you one better. The time left to record timer went from 1 minute to 2 minutes just a few seconds after I stopped the recording, and it always did stick to 1 minute every time the recording stopped after 30 minutes.
So much for 4K, but what about 8K? let's see how long we can now record in 8K all-eye with the firmware 1.1.1 applied.
The EOS R5 1.1 firmware update was a huge step in itself, cause now I was able to record 27 minutes of 8K all-eye footage without overheating. And thanks to the thermal imaging, we now also know that under 8K recording settings the camera gets even hotter cause the body reaches 44 degrees Celsius before it overheats. With the cooling system applied, certain things change. You can see that shortly before the camera overheats, the body temperature is 7 degrees lower than before. Unfortunately, the camera still overheats, but thanks to the lower temperature, you get an additional 19 minutes of recording time, which makes this camera a viable 8K recording device. The only downside is, if the camera overheats, the cooldown timer kicks in and then the software decides when enough time has passed to re-engage recording, no matter the temperature.
I think these new values are impressive. We now have multiple ways to record in 4K fine for as long as we want, so for me the biggest caveat of the R5 is fixable. Sure, it would be nice if it could record this way right out of the box, but that's another topic. By the way, if you're wondering, the other option is externally, and I have a thorough how to record externally video with the R5 coming up. With the successful proof of concept, I can't wait for Tilta to finally release their cooling solution for the EOS R5. And I can only imagine that it will be even more efficient than my solution. So Tilta, if you're watching, let me know when you guys are ready. I hope you enjoyed today's camera hack. If you did, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you have any questions surrounding the solution I did today or the R5, let me know down in the comments below. And with that said, thank you for watching and I see you in the next one. Peace!